Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the Carolina Panthers NFL Draft Review. It's finally here. The weekend has come and gone, and Ryan and I, we're going to break down every single one of the selections. But before we do that, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Get notified when future Panthers videos come out on the Tracy Take. Trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season, so any help is greatly appreciated. Ryan, let's pull up the slides here. So Panthers ended up trading into the first round, got Xavier Legette here. Really like this pick overall. I think one of the comments you made is like there might be some overlap with Jonathan Mingo, but I also think too, you have a whole new head coaching regime coming in there. Like they do not care. They want to go get their player. And I like Xavier Legette here. I think he works really well and complements Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnston also. And then even too, we'll get to another player that they draft here later on. But Ryan, what do you like about Legette, especially to work with Bryce Young?
Yeah, big guy, 6'1", 6'2", 223 pounds, ran a 4.39. So obviously the measurable statistics are there. But to me, seems like a quality kid off the field, really solid football player, hard to bring down in open space, especially with some of the new rules. I think you'll see a common trend with some of the larger receivers taken across the board here. And so I really like what he brings to the table. Definitely going to be more after the catch, maybe especially early on in his career, going to have to get some design touches get the football in his hands that way, because he's not the most polished route runner as of right now. But again, 6'1", 223, has the speed to win down the field, win in some contested catch situations. Overall, they identified a guy they liked. I liked him as well coming into this draft process, just with his tangible attributes. And so I think this is just a solid pick by the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have that Adam Thielen kind of working his way in the slot there. Deontay Johnson, I think, is just a solid number 2 receiver. And Thielen, say slot, you can move Thielen all around that you want. So I think you go get a big guy like Legette here. But to your point, just a physical freak. Put the ball in his hands and just let him make magic happen. But they continue to address on the offense here. I really like this pick as well. Again, Jonathan Brooks, running back from Texas, number 1 running back that came off the board here. And even with the ACL tear, honestly, with the ACL tear, he could have pushed to maybe be fringe first rounder here, but ended up falling in the middle of the second. But I think it's going to be well worth it. You go look at this Panthers running back room and just their running offense. Really put a big emphasis on the offensive line this offseason. Also, too, they brought Miles Sanders in. That didn't really seem to work out over the past just 1 year. So this past season didn't really work out that much at all. Cuba Hubbard also, he's had a good career. He's definitely, I think, exceeded his overall physical talent in his career. But I think you can bring Jonathan Brooks in, and right away, I think he's the number 1 running back. Taking back there with Bryce Young.
I think Chuba Hubbard's best role is going to be in a kind of spell back, giving Jonathan Brooks some relief. Give him a break. And so I think Jonathan Brooks saw it, very dynamic runner with the football in his hands, in between the tackles, outside the tackles. He has the speed and power that can kind of do both. To me, what was most impressive was just how good of a receiver he is. He is a true 3-down back out of the backfield, and some of the catches that he made at Texas were phenomenal. And I think you look at what Carolina needs right now. Outlet on 3rd down, get the ball in Jonathan Brooks' hands in a check down situation. He is good in pass protection as well. So definitely maybe peel off some blocks, get him the football, and just go have him create in some emergency situations. I think just that aspect of the game makes this pick worth it in and of itself. So
it really was such a shame, because we'd love to see him go in the college football playoffs against that Washington team, against Michigan or Alabama. If they would have moved on, just go up against him even more top tier talent, because he had such a great season going until he tore his ACL. All reports is he's going to be perfectly fine by training camp, and be perfectly fine, especially by the start of the season. So it should be a lot of fun here. Panthers ended up trading back and then moving up to go get Jonathan Brooks. And so then they ended up trading back again. You got Trevon Wallace here in the 3rd round, linebacker.
Yes.
I think it's just a solid pick as well. They've made a lot of moves overall on the offseason. So just getting a solid player here at 72, addressing the defensive side of the ball, and trying to get a little bit quicker. So, Ryan, what are your overall thoughts on this selection here?
He's a good linebacker, athletic. Not my favorite pick, especially with a guy like Peyton Wilson still left on the board here. That is probably my biggest gripe, was I just felt like there was a better linebacker or two on the board. And I will say, like, Peyton Wilson has some pretty significant injury concerns, so maybe that's why they decided to pass on him. But I felt on tape Peyton Wilson was the better player here, and they still took Trevon Wallace over him. And with that being said, Trevon Wallace is still a good athlete. Maybe not quite as versatile as Peyton Wilson, but I do really like this pick here. Get another linebacker that's going to be rangy, go sideline to sideline. Not like quite like Luke Kuechly, who, I mean, is one of the best linebackers.
Yeah, he's one of the best. Yeah,
ever. So, but it still get a good body back there and see what they can do once he gets into training camp.
Yeah, I think just in general, you're trying to find good players to fit their system. I think with the whole new regime coming in, I think just getting a guy like Trevon Wallace here, they've got a pretty good secondary overall. I felt in Carolina. They did move on from Brian Burns, but then they brought in some other good players as well in the offseason. So I think here just maybe nobody's wanted to trade back, so they were if they were wanting to trade back again, so they just took a guy that was just there, and so
yeah.
I can understand that the injury concerns with especially with Peyton Wilson. As good of a football player he is, unfortunately, he fell. But Panthers benefited, though, with their next pick here as a player who probably fell the most. I think this is probably the biggest shock. I'm very curious to see come reports on why Jaavan Sanders fell so far. But get Jaavan Sanders here to start out day 3. It was kind of a no-brainer, I felt like. I think whatever concerns there might be, getting him here in round 4 was worth every concern. Because if all those can be diminished and he turns out to be the tight end we saw in college, this is going to be an amazing addition, especially to you add him now with Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen as well. You put Jonathan Brooks in that backfield, his former college teammate. And you still got the likes of Deontay Johnson and Jonathan Mingo as well. I think this could be a great selection here, I think, for Bryce Young, for a guy to just rely on.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially over the middle of the field, he's a great athlete. He's very effective with the ball in his hands. At 240 pounds, you might want to see him put on a little bit more weight, like add on another 10 or so. But I will say, if you have to do that and sacrifice some of his athleticism, I don't think I would, just because he is such a dynamic athlete on the football field. So I really like that pick there. Just to kind of go through the last 3 here, Chal Smith-Wade, the cornerback from Washington State. A good corner there. Was productive, but I think he is a little undersized and not the most productive. And so that's kind of why he fell here. Jaden Crumdy, I believe, is from either Mississippi State or Texas A&M. Watching the colors get me confused. Mississippi State. And another good fit here. Just another big body in the middle. And then Michael Barrett, the linebacker from Michigan, double dipping in that linebacker spot. I didn't necessarily identify that as a need for them before this. However, I will say linebackers are I don't say the running backs of the defense, but they kind of get lost in the shuffle sometimes. So adding some depth at that position could be a useful thing for them as well.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things, too, with the Panthers trade, just draft overall. I think it was pretty generic defensively, but offensively, though, they were very specific. And they targeted a player at nearly every single position, I think, outside of the offensive line. They double dipped in linebacker section. Yeah. But to your point, though, as well, they linebackers, I think, with the new kickoff rules, I think it's going to be a very unique aspect to the special teams rules and everything. So let's move on, though, to our grades. Ryan and I, we put grades on each of the drafts here. So, Ryan, you did a B+. I did an A-. I was a little bit higher on this draft as well. Why did you go with the B+ there?
Yeah, so every team kind of started in that B- range. I think that was kind of like my average. So I have this as a slightly above average grade. And I think you look, Xavier Legette back into the first round, top of the second is right where he was supposed to go. Jonathan Brooks, kind of the same thing, second round there. Trevon Wallace, I knocked them for a little bit just because I liked Peyton Wilson maybe a little bit more personally. And then the Jaavan Sanders pick, I think, kind of bumps them back up to an above average pick, because that to me is a second round talent that you got at the top of the 4th round. And I think that's really good value there. And then kind of the rest of the day 3 picks, we'll see what they develop into, but I don't put too much credit into those just because they are more likely than not going to have no effect on the team. So
yeah, well, and I think that you're just trying to find developmental guys that fit your scheme, and so I ended up going with the A-. I think the Panthers, I think all things considered, had one of the better drafts above average. I would say overall my gradings, I would say probably B to B plus would be like the average of what the grades were. So I think this was a little bit above average here. Just getting Legette, a receiver that they like. You got Brooks, you got Jaavan Sanders, so 3 clear offensive weapons to help out Bryce Young and that offense as a whole. And then addressing each layer of the defense in day 3. To your point, I'd love to see how they pan out. But in general, I like the Panthers class so far. It's going to be fun watching them as a Falcons fan, as you can tell, seeing how these young guys develop.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I like what they did in this draft. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. Please let us know what you thought of the Panthers draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.